Admitting everybody. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another session of Gentle Chair Yoga brought to you by the Public Library of Brookline and sponsored by the Friends of the Brookline Public Library and our partners at BIG, which is Brookline Interactive Group. This session is being streamed live on our Facebook page, on BIG's Facebook page, and on Comcast and RCN Local Channel 3. Just a couple of quick announcements just a couple of quick announcements before we start. All right, bear with me. Sorry, everybody. All right. Thank you, everybody. So some quick announcements before we start this wonderful program. Disclaimer, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from the participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Hi, good morning. So let's start in our mountain pose, our seated mountain pose. And so for that, you have a choice. You can slide all the way back into the chair and use the back of the chair for support, or if you're feeling energetic this morning, and it's pretty nice out, it's warm, it's actually a little humid, and if you're feeling energetic, you don't have to use the back of the chair, but it takes a little more work to sit up. So the important thing here is to sit up as we used to be told when we went to school, that we should have good posture and sit up tall, no slumping. So I'll turn sideways, and we have the 3 curves in the back that we want to be able to have when we sit up tall. So the bottom part down here, the lumbar spine goes in, the thoracic spine between the shoulder blades up here is going out, and the neck is going back in. So we're sitting up nice and tall. And note that the ankles are about underneath the knees, so about a 90-degree angle here. And feeling the sitting bones, you can even give a little wiggle like this, so that you really want to feel grounded in the sitting bones and grounded in the feet. So notice that my feet are pointing straight ahead. My toes are pointing straight ahead. And they're lined up with the knees, which are lined up about with the hips. My knees are a little wider. So for me, I find it easier to sit up with a wider, the knees a little wider apart. It allows the pelvis to tip forward more easily. That's why it makes it easier to sit up. So if you find it's challenging to sit up tall, try moving the knees a little further apart. And so we're going to start with just a few breaths, just naturally breathing. Just naturally breathing without actually changing anything. Just notice what your breath is doing. Sometimes when we first sit down, we're breathing a little faster. We've been busy doing other things. So you could even try closing the eyes here. And that helps to start to rest the mind. When we begin to rest the mind, we begin to rest the breath. And when we begin to rest the breath, we begin to rest the body and the nervous system. I'm still sitting up tall. So imagine, if you will, that very gentle press with the feet down. Gently pressing the feet down. If you have your hands on your thighs like this, when you press your feet, you'll feel this little contraction right here in the quadriceps. You actually might even feel a slight shortening. It's almost like the muscles bunch up right here. And what happens is there's an isometric contraction there. And that helps to provide support for the spine going up. You can also add a little bit of support with the belly. So if you want to take your hand and just gently poke your belly a little bit. So you want it to be firm, not hard, but firm enough so that it provides support to the back. If I let my belly hang out like this, my back sags. I can feel it sagging. And if I contract it slightly, I feel a little bit of lifting. So that's what we want lifting. And then we go ahead and lift the collarbones up. So the collarbones are right here underneath the chin. And we lift the collarbones and even the heart up. So there's this opening. The shoulders begin to move back. And there's an opening across the heart, across the chest. And just check the nose and make sure it's pointing straight ahead. So we don't want to lift it up or have it coming down. We want it nice and straight ahead. And we're just going to breathe a couple more breaths. And if you can, breathing in and out through the nose is usually more calming. And then we'll bring the hands together right in front of the heart. And for this, go ahead and spread the fingers wide like this, without straining the fingers, though. So I'm spreading my fingers apart, but I'm not straining. I'm not going as far as I can go. I'm spreading them so that they feel even and that they look even. You can hold them up. Look at your hands like this, like I am, and see that they're relatively even. And you might need to make one a little bit more. You might have to bring one set of fingers in or out a little bit. And then go ahead and bring the hands back right in the front. And then notice if the palms are touching here. The center of the palms probably won't touch. But notice if this rim along the outside is touching. And see if you can bring some evenness there without pressing too hard. So we're firmly feeling the hands, the palms together, firmly feeling the fingers, but not overly pressing. And then come back to that lengthening of the spine. And the next time you inhale, so as we inhale, so that we're following the breath, we lift the arms up and circle the arms down and around as we exhale. So there's this inhaling on the way up, and exhaling, releasing, softening on the way down. And inhaling on the way up. And we're going to continue like this. So we're each following our own breath here. So it's important for the movement to accompany the breath, not the breath accompanying the movement. So the breath sets our rhythm, and the arms are following that rhythm. So it's very important if you're going a little faster, that's okay. If you're breathing slightly faster than I am, or your neighbor, if you're doing this with someone else, that's okay. Or slower is okay too. It's important to be independent of other people on this because we want to establish everybody has their own breathing rhythm. And then we'll do it twice more like this, keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. So even though the hands are going up, my shoulders stay relaxed. And the next time you bring the palms together, we're going to pause there for a moment. And let's take a couple cactus breaths here. So this inhaling, sweeping the arms out, and then back. We'll do this 3 times. And then we're going to go back the other way. So we'll bring the hands together. And this time we are exhaling as the hands drop. And then go ahead and turn the palms up. So notice that my arms rotate out. And then we inhale up, palms touch. And then they float down on the breath, on the exhalation. So we're inhaling up. You can even give a sigh on the way down. It's a nice way to relieve tension. Sighing is a good way to relieve tension. And you can vary the size of the circles, remembering that we want to be circling the arms so that the shoulders always travel up when the arms go up, but we don't want them to bunch up by the ears, and we don't want to have pain or discomfort. So you may want to limit how high the hands and the arms go, even so the movement's the same. This is the same movement as coming higher, or it has the same benefits anyway. And remember, this is really about working on range of motion in the shoulders, and also keeping the body and the mind calm here with the breath. And then we'll pause back. In the middle, we'll do some cactus breaths. So we'll inhale and exhale a couple more times. And then notice the knees here. Notice the knees. Sometimes the knees want to fall out to the side. See if you can keep them with a little bit of effort with the inner thigh muscles, and the adductors. You're also welcome. We've used a block or a towel before. You could, if you had a block or something to put between, even a cushion, something that's not too heavy or it's soft. So if you dropped it by accident, it won't hurt your feet. And so you can use this as a way to stimulate these inner muscles to contract. And we're in the middle and we're breathing like this. Let's give ourselves a hug like this. And a couple more times. Inhaling, sweeping with grace. Think about gracefulness. Gracefulness with the sweeping. And then coming back one last time. And then arms apart. So since it's warmer out, water is a really good idea. They say that sipping water is the best way to drink water. It tends to be absorbed more effectively in the body when we drink a little bit regularly, like every 15 or 20 minutes. The body stays hydrated more. When if we drink a lot of water all at once, it tends to make us have to go to the bathroom. So let's sit up nice and tall. So if you're not using the back of the chair, of course, you're welcome to, at any time, to slide towards the back of the chair for support, or opposite. If you feel like you don't need the support anymore, you don't want it, you want to have to use a little more effort, feel free to slide forward. And we're going to rock from side to side. So we're going to start by feeling the weight shifting from one sitting bone to the other as we lift up the foot. As we lift up the foot. And you can vary how much challenge this is by how long and how high you lift the foot up. So if you lean to the side and lift the leg up higher, almost like you're balancing like this. This is obviously harder. And then coming down slowly. So in the beginning, if you're new to this type of exercise where you're balancing and also keeping the spine lengthened, try just lifting the foot a little bit, starting like this. And then if you practice regularly, you'll get to a point where as the muscles in the core get stronger, so we call this our core, the back, the sides, the belly, and even the muscles down around the hip area or the groins are our core. So you can work with the just rocking from side to side. This is a nice balance pose too. So if you want, you can put your hands out, and as you go slower, you'll notice it's harder to balance. You feel like you're really balancing on one side when we do this. One of the things that can help is when you lift this foot up, think about pressing the opposite foot down so you feel a little more grounded. And this would be the same thing when we stand up and we do a balancing pose like tree pose. It's very important to feel like the leg that's supporting us is really grounded and feels connected to the earth. It helps to give us some of our balance. And then we're going to come back down. And let's roll the shoulders. And then back the other way. So I'd like to start out with a sound, or we already started, so I'd like to listen just for a moment to a sound. And then we're going to do the exercise called brummery, which is the bumblebee sound. But first we'll just listen. There's something special about the sound of a bell. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm sure it goes back to prehistoric times when certain sounds, we were attracted to certain sounds. And maybe because we can use our voice to make a similar sound. And we want to sit up nice and tall. We're going to do brummery. So brummery is the bumblebee breath, remembering that we're going to be making the sound of a bee like this. Starting off very softly, getting louder, and then tapering off very softly at the end. So think about smoothness in the sound, nice and smooth. So we'll sit up, and we'll do it for about 30 seconds or 40 seconds worth. So we'll begin together, and then because we're all breathing a little differently, as we finish the breath, just go ahead, take a nice, normal, natural breath, and begin again. This can be another one where it's nice to close the eyes, so there's no distractions. We can really concentrate on feeling the throat vibrating, feeling the feet grounded. So we want to feel like we have some support in the body, almost like maybe like we're a bee about to take off. And so let's begin together. So we'll inhale. Face and eyes are relaxed. Jaw, tongue, and throat are relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. Last one. Sitting up nice and tall. And then as you exhale, the next time you exhale, very gently relax the throat and let the chin come down. So gently bow the head. No forcing here, just with total ease of the chin coming down. And if you find that it feels congested in the throat, lift up again. Try an inhale again. And then as you exhale, keep the throat soft and release the chin down. We're just breathing the whole time here. We're not holding the breath, so please don't hold the breath. And then on an inhale, we'll lift up. And let's do some range of motion. And remember, if you need water, feel free to any time. It's also, there's so much pollen in the air. So if you've had your windows open, there's quite a bit of pollen floating around. So sometimes the pollen can tickle the back of the throat. We'll open and close the hands. And let's add the feet to it. Actually, I'm going to just adjust this camera slightly. You can see my feet. So we're doing the hands and we're going to do the feet. So I'm going to lift my toes up like this, and I'm going to open and close. So let's even try it this way. Let's try curling the toes and curling the hands. Let's turn the hands over. So it's like this. Curling and open. So they're doing the same thing. So if I look down at my hands and feet, I can even move my hands down at my feet. So this is a good way, because we're trying to do two things at once. We're trying to facilitate integrating the movement and the visual together. So I'm opening and closing, and opening and closing. And you may need to, depending on how your feet are feeling, you may need to move the feet a little bit less. So you might have to curl the toes slightly less. So if you're starting to get cramping, you can bring your feet down and then just do the hands. And now let's do the rocking the feet like this. And then let's rock the hands at the same time. Really rocking kind of the wrists and the elbows. And we're closing the hands. So I'm opening the fingers like this, and then as I come back, I'm closing. And let's add a circle to it. I'm circling around. You can keep the feet going in the circle, but if that doesn't feel okay, then just go back to the rocking like this. And these movements are a little different. One is a circle and one is more like a just a back and forth, kind of like the, and rest your hands for a moment, kind of like when you do the circle on the belly and you pat the head. This takes practice because we're not used to doing these non-uniform movements. It's easier if we circle both or pat both, but to circle one and pat the other, so I have trouble on this side, takes practice. So it's retraining our brains. And that's really important because so many of us, we spend so much time seated that neurologically we're often not maybe as connected with our anatomy as we could be. So it doesn't work as well, especially as we get older. And let's go back. And so we were doing this rocking like this. And so let's go. So we were doing the circling and the rocking. We're going to circle the other way now. So see if you can remember circling the hands, which way, and now circling the other way. And my head's going up and down a little bit with this too. It's like my head is following my hands up. And then I'm going to rest my hands and my feet. And I'm going to pat my knee and then lift it up and swing it a few times. And then put it down, then do the other side. So the toes are going straight ahead here. This is just a little lubrication for the knee. It's very important with the knee joint. It's a hinge joint, so it does not go sideways. So make sure it's going straight ahead like this. So as if it was going straight ahead like this. And you'll need to be extra careful, especially if you've had knee replacements. So if you had any joint replacements, and it's very common now, hips, knees are probably the most common. Being extra careful about the range of motion that those joints are allowed to do. Usually there's an emphasis by your physician on that, and they should have told you. And it may be if after a period of time that you forget. So you want to make sure that you know what the allowable range of motion is and don't go past it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll lift the right knee up, and we're going to interlace the fingers like this behind. Just hold up for a minute. And if this feels okay, you can start to work the knee up and down like this. So this is a place where if this is challenging to lift the knee, you can take a belt or a strap. This is a yoga strap. A belt works just as well. You could even use a tie or really any piece of cloth. Even a towel would work. And put it behind the knee, and you can do this up and down. So this makes it a little bit easier, it lengthens the arms is really what it does. This is a really good exercise for the hip flexors. And making sure that we're still sitting up nice and tall when we do this. If you find that if you're collapsing like this, make sure you're using the back of the chair when you do it. So let's do the other side now. So we're going to go ahead and lift the other side up. And then find that lifting, that good posture as we go back and forth like this. Now let's make a few circles like this. We'll do the other side, the circles on the other side in a moment. We're circling around. Now if this is too easy, you could try it with one hand. And if it's still too easy, you can try it with no hands. And we're going to go the other way. And notice the circles are not big. And I'm not going super fast. Just going a little bit. And my hip feels okay. If you're finding pain or discomfort in the hip, try making the circles smaller. And, if you find that you can't do the exercise without pain or discomfort, then please skip that exercise. Let's do the other side. So we're lifting up and we're circling. And see if you can bring your attention right to the hip joint and the buttocks. So keep going. Please don't stop unless you need to. Don't stop on my account. Only stop when you need to. So that's really, if your hip's bothering you or you need to rest, then go ahead and then circle the other way. And remember, you can take one hand away if you want, or two hands away if that feels okay. You're going to find it's a lot more effort in the belly. It really works the core muscles when you remove the hands. So our hands are sort of when we lift the knee up, there's a contraction that runs all the way up the body. And this is helping to support. So, and let's go lifting like this, back and forth. Now that we can kind of we're feeling what that was like. So we're going to lift up slowly and then back and forth. Then we're going to slide forward now. Sliding forward in our chair. So now we just need room behind us because we're going to circle around. The chest here is lifted. So I'm not rounding the back. I'm not rounding like this and looking down. I'm lifting and looking out forward across the room. So I'm looking actually about head height here. And you can change directions if you want. It's also a little bit easier if you sit further on the front of the chair, you can feel the sitting bones underneath you. And the thighs aren't pressing on the chair. So we're getting support from the feet and the two sitting bones. You might even notice there's a feeling of a circle going underneath you. So there's the weight shifting. My hand is the weight shifting underneath me, going from the foot to the sitting bone, to the other sitting bone, to the other foot. And let's go back the other way. You could even, if you want, you can trace it with your hand. See if you can feel a connection between the hand and the weight, or the position of the hand and the weight. The position of the hand is over where the weight is on the body. And if you want to make, more, the bigger the circles, the more challenging it is. If it's hard, if it bothers your lower back or bothers your hips, try making the circles smaller and sitting up taller. Oh, I think that rhymed. Try making the circles smaller and sitting up taller. So this exercise is really about lengthening the spine, but also this nice rotation around the waist. And then let's come forward and let's take a few breaths, inhaling and exhaling. And let's roll the shoulders. So let's do, we did triangle pose last time. So we're going to do seated triangle pose again. So triangle pose is a very common yoga pose. We're going to bring the feet apart so that we feel grounded and balanced and supported. So a triangle is a very, it's a very strongly shaped geometric shape. So it has a lot of strength to it by its legs being spread apart. So think about the triangle. So the triangle's from foot to groin to foot and then across like this. So I want to feel really, if I lean forward a little, I can feel the weight going into the feet, but I'm not going to feel like I'm falling over. If you start to feel like you're falling over, walk your feet out a little bit more, just a little. Try inch by inch until you find a place where you really feel grounded. And we're going to start by extending the arms up, or if the shoulders bother you, extending the elbows up. So really lengthening the spine by lengthening the sides of the body. So whether it's this or this, we want this feeling of lengthening right in the front. The sides of the body are lengthening. And then I'm going to bring the hands down, and then I'm going to bring the right arm up alongside the ear, or alternately you can rest the hand on the shoulder. And then I'm going to begin to lean slightly forward towards this leg, and letting my hand glide down the leg. So my hand is supported by the leg. And then I'm going to come back up, and I'm going to lower the arm down. And then I'm going to do the other side. So either alongside the ear or hand resting on the shoulder. And then leaning forward towards the leg, and hand sliding down the leg. And we're going to come back up. So we'll do that a couple more times on each side. So we're not going to hold it there, although we could. You could, I guess, if you wanted. This is your own practice. Sometimes I find that the movement greatly aids the stretching part and also the strengthening. It's more of a connection and less tension. Sometimes when we hold a pose, it does create tension, and it's a different feeling than moving. So let's try it again on the other side. So sliding the hand down and then coming back up. So you can do this at your own pace as well. Inhale, and then exhale, sliding down. Inhale up, arm comes down. Remember, you can have the hand on the shoulder too. Inhale, exhale. Inhale up, exhale down. We'll do one more on each side. Inhale, up, exhale, sliding the hand down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up. Last time on this side, sliding the hand down. And inhaling up and coming back down. Let's roll the shoulders. Take a couple of breaths. Let's do the, bring the feet in. Before we stand up and do a little bit of standing, we're going to work with the neck and the shoulders a little more. So nice and tall posture, seated nice and tall, and then lift the chin up and let the chin come down. Remembering that we're keeping the throat soft, especially as we bring the chin down. And we're releasing the chin down and releasing the throat as we lift the chin up. So there's this nice softening in the front here without dropping the head way back. The head's just going back a slight amount, very small. And then one more time. And then we'll come back to the center, and we're going to tip the head. I'm going to tip the head. You're welcome to use your hands as a pillow to guide the head if you want. So this helps to position the ear relative to the shoulder. And we're thinking about this lengthening and softening on the upper part of the neck right here. I'm letting the weight of the head do the work. Letting the weight of the head do the work. And if you lean slightly to the side, that's okay. I'm not trying to lean way over. I'm trying to really isolate the movement of the neck. But if there's a little bit of movement in the shoulders and the spine, that's okay too. And one more time on each side. And we'll come back up. And before we do this one, we're going to gently, we've done this before, we're going to squeeze the earlobes and just sort of walk the fingers. I'll turn sideways so you can see. I'm going to walk my fingers, squeezing up the ears until we get all the way to the top. And this does not hurt. Don't squeeze so hard that it hurts. It's really not about hurting. It's really just about sort of softening up the ears. And this can help to give a little more range of motion when we turn the head to the side. You can even very gently pull the ears out to the side. In the wintertime, this is really good for improving the circulation in the ears. A lot of times ears are cold in the winter, unless you're wearing a hat. Try to do this for about 30 seconds like this. Remembering not to pull too hard or squeeze too hard. And you can experiment with how much you gently pull. And I'm actually letting the ear kind of slide through my fingers as I pull. So remember, this is yoga. So we have ahimsa. In yoga, we have ahimsa. So it's no pain. Ahimsa means nonviolence. And that's what most people would say is the most important yogic principle is nonviolence. And then we'll sit up nice and tall and very gently turn the chin now. Keeping the jaw relaxed. So the jaw is relaxed. The throat is relaxed. The eyes and face. You're welcome to close the eyes here. This is about how easily does my head turn, not how far. And if you have any neck issues, you're going to want to make a smaller movement. And if that bothers your neck at all, then skip this exercise. Go back to your ears. Try your ears again if you need something to do. And then lastly, we'll circle the head around. We'll drop the chin down, and then we'll let the ear come, and then we'll slide around to the other side. So there's really 4 positions to think about here. The chin's coming down in the front. The ears coming over to the shoulder. The head goes back slightly. The ear goes to the other shoulder, and then the chin comes down in the front again. You could even, if you wanted, reposition your hands each time to sort of catch your head. And we're going to go back the other way. So whenever you get ready, just go ahead and circle around the other way. Notice this is a nice, slow movement, nothing fast. And if you find that this bothers your neck, try making the circles smaller. We don't have to lean the head as far to the side, the front, or the back. It's a little bit like when we were circling the shoulders around or circling the waist around. You could even, if you want, you could even add the head movement and the circling the shoulders. Let's come back. Let's just circle the shoulders around. So this is the movement like this. And if you want, you can add the head to it. Making the head movements a little bit smaller. But we're doing it in unison, so there's a little bit more of a whole body experience. And then we'll circle back the other way. Keeping the neck relaxed here. Neck is relaxed. The abdomen is engaged here. And then we'll sit up nice and tall. So one of the things to think about when we do our exercises is we often work in a specific area. See if you can keep the other areas of the body relaxed or as relaxed as they can be. we still need good posture, so our bellies won't be totally relaxed. They'll be firm, but they won't be tense. And that's important for most of the exercises that we do, that we focus on a particular area. Let's do some breaths like this. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Sorry, the Bluetooth on my phone, I shut it off. It actually doesn't work right. And Apple's been unable to fix it. So I turned it off, and but I don't have any control over it, apparently. So sorry about that. Let's sit up nice and tall. So this is so these interruptions. A lot of people get very upset when there are interruptions like this. And these are our challenges to see if we can just, not ignore, but find a way to put these interruptions in their place, which is they're not really very important. And we have interruptions our whole life, all day long, and that one of the things that we try to do with our yoga practice is to not let interruptions bother us. So let's go back. We're inhaling and exhaling a couple more times. So we're going to do a pose called seated eagle pose. So if you've done eagle pose standing, and actually we're just going to do eagle arms, and then we'll add the legs to it the next, after that. So eagle arms, so when we have our cactus like this, eagle arms, we let one arm slide under the other one, and then we begin to wrap them around like this. So this can be something where if it's hard to wrap your arms, you can actually use a belt or a strap or a tie or any piece of cloth. And you could take it like this, and if I come under like this, it's a little bit easier if I have something to hold on to. So let's try it. So we're going to take the left arm, and we'll give ourselves a little hug like this a couple of times. And then this time we're going to, left arm's going to come under and begin to wrap around so that the elbows are on top of each other. And we're sitting up nice and tall. So this gets a little more challenging to breathe. So go ahead and really focus on the breath, especially as you exhale, and see if you can exhale and relax the shoulders in the face. And then one last breath. And then as you exhale, go ahead and release the arms. And then we'll swing the arms back and forth like this. So we did the left arm. I'm mirroring you. So we did the left arm underneath before. So this time we'll do the right arm underneath. And you'll probably find that the sides are different, that they don't feel the same, they don't connect the same, and one is easier than the other. So we'll go ahead and we'll inhale. We'll take a couple of hugs first. Give yourself a nice hug. Do one more hug. And then this time we're going to, the right arm is going to circle under and come around. And we'll take a few breaths here, inhaling, sitting up nice and tall, and exhaling, relaxing the shoulders. It's very important to relax the shoulders and the face here, to let the body relax, even as we extend the spine up. And then one more time, inhaling, and you can release at any time. And exhaling, release, and come back down. And then we'll do the arms again. Arms like this. And then we'll give ourselves a hug. So eagle pose is similar to this, this wrapping our arms around, but we're intertwining our forearms at the same time. And then we'll come down and roll the shoulders. And then back the other way. And we're going to stand up now. We're going to stand and, or you can do seated mountain pose. So your choice, standing or seated mountain pose. So I'll stand for this one. And if you're doing seated, the movements are very similar, except the knees and the hips are bent. So if you're standing, I'm going to turn the chair and stand right behind the chair. So I'll be sideways so you can see that the legs are fairly straight. And depending on how tight your hamstrings are, you may or may not be able to straighten the legs all the way. That's okay. Mine are pretty tight, so they don't straighten 100%. The one thing you do want to do, and oh, this is good. So you can, in the winter, you can't see my legs, but we don't want to hyperextend the knee. So hyperextending is when the knee is actually going back here and there's a big curve in the front of the leg like this. And so my legs get relatively straight, but when you're hyperextended, the joints take a lot of extra pressure. And we want to avoid that. So if you know that you hyperextend, or you look at your legs and you see that you have a big curve in the front, this knee is actually flat. Instead of sticking out, you see it flat on the leg here. You're probably hyperextending. Then you need to bend it to the point where it's straight and not hyperextending. That's important for the knee joint. So standing up nice and tall, and we're going to just begin with we're going to rock with the feet like this. And this is a good time to use the chair, resting the fingers here and rocking back and forth. Rocking with control, so it's really important to bring our attention to the feet so that I feel the weight moving in the feet. So as I go back on the heels and my toes lift slightly up, the balls of the feet, I'm feeling the heels. So this helps me maintain my balance. If I'm going too fast, there's a tendency to just sort of lose the balance. So if we're going slowly and we have our hands resting, so I'm not leaning so much on the chairs, just using it for information. I'm going back and forth. And let's come back to our mountain pose and lift and spread the toes. So think about waving the toes, lifting them up and waving them like this, just as you do with your fingers. We can even add the fingers. If you're using the chair, you can have one hand on the chair and try waving the fingers and toes like this. So I'm getting my toes moving and spreading them. And remember, you can practice this by sitting down and then actually moving the toes apart. That's a good way to practice. We won't do that today. And then we'll bend the knees slightly and straighten. Bend and straighten. So as I bend and straighten, I'm going to turn around so you can see. I'm going to try putting your hands right here on your gluteal muscles. So you want to feel the butt muscles. And as I bend, I want a little contraction. The butt muscles are moving in, and so it supports the butt muscles here. The gluteal muscles actually aid the quadriceps when I bend the legs. So if my gluteal muscles are not responsive, my quadriceps do all the work or do most of the work, and it actually puts extra pressure on the knee joint. Because remember, the quadricep muscle goes over the knee joint and attaches down here on the below the knee joint. And so we want the gluteal muscles to assist so that there's not as much pressure. There's not as much pressure on the knee joint. So all the muscles down here are the gluteal muscles, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the muscles in the lower legs. They're all interconnected, and they all influence each other and influence the joints and the stability of the joints and how the joints feel. And then I'm going to stand up nice and tall. So I'm going to do tree pose. So with tree pose, we're going to stand up nice and tall in mountain pose like we just did. And we talked earlier about really feeling the leg grounded. So I'm going to begin with my right leg. I'm going to pat my right leg. And I'm going to take my left leg and gently turn it out. Let's try that a couple of times. So if you have your chair like this, it can be handy just to rest the fingers, almost like I'm doing or you can do this if you want. Da-da, da-da, da-da-da, da-da. And it'd be better if it was a little slower, actually. And we're really feeling the foot, the bottom of the foot, the sole of the foot, and this lifting up through the leg and up through the spine so that I feel lifted. My heart feels lifted, and I'm stepping out. Actually, let's even try this. Try opening with your hands like this and letting the big toe come down. Let's do the other side now. So if you're using your chair, you can have one hand resting, and what I would probably do is have the side that's turning out. When I turn my leg out, I turn the arm on that side out. So they kind of going together like this. So now I'm going to do my other side, my left side. So my left foot presses firmly into the floor, and then I'm going to step my right toes out. So there's an opening in the groin here as I open my arms out. Let's try that back and forth a few times. So as you step the foot out, a little bit of weight goes on the toes, but most of it's still on that straight leg. And I'm feeling it on the bottom of that, the sole of the straight leg foot. And then come back. And then let's go ahead and open and hold it there for a moment. And if you want to add the traditional tree pose, you can bring the foot to the inside of the calf like this. You can even add the arm extended up. And if you're okay with both arms, if your balance is good, you can bring both arms up. Remember to breathe. Most important thing is to breathe. And then we're going to come down, slowly lower the arms with control, bring the foot down, step back. And we didn't let's do the other side one more time, and we'll add the arms and the tree part. So we'll press the right foot firmly, turn that left leg out, and then if you want, you can bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And we had our hand out like this. You can put both hands out. And if you're ready, if this feels okay, you can lift the arms up. So any position, if you lose your balance, you've got the chair, or you can step your foot down if you're not using a chair. It's always okay to step the foot down for balance. And then you can have your arms like branches like this, or if you want, you can have the arms over the head. Some people even prefer the arms like this. I'm still standing up nice and tall and extending the spine up. Lifting and extending the spine up. And then I'll lower the foot down, lower the hands down. And before we sit down, I'd like to do this exercise. I think we did it last time, where we're standing behind the chair. You can also stand with the wall like this. You could have your hands on the wall like this if you don't have a chair. We're going to extend and step the foot back and then bring it forward. So I'm going back and forth like this. Back and forth. So a chair's handy though. You could even do this at the kitchen counter if you're near your kitchen counter and you don't have a chair. So we're stepping back and forth. And see if you can slow it down a little bit. As we slow things down, we really have to be more mindful. We have to feel more. So I'm feeling the ball of my foot back there, and I'm feeling the toes, the bottom of my toes, and I'm also feeling my buttocks here. This is another one where if you want, you can put your hand on the buttock. And when you come forward, you'll notice it relaxes. And when you step back, and press the heel back, there's a contraction. This gets firm. So we're going to go back and forth. And we'll do the other side now. So we're standing up nice and tall. So remember, we still want good effort in that straight leg, or mostly straight leg. It actually might bend a little bit. Especially as you come forward, you might get a little bend in the knee, just a slight bend. And then straightening as you step back. So we're going to go back and forth like that. Think about lifting the chest up. Think about lifting the chest. So there's this nice curve on the front of the body. This is really like a gentle, it's not a back bend, but a chest opener. And if it feels comfortable, you can even pause there for a moment and take a breath. Give a sigh as you exhale. And then come back. Let's do the other side. So if you wanted to do that, pause for a moment, you can. And this movement helps to counteract our sitting, because it's the opposite. When we sit, this joint, the front of the joint here is shortened. And we're going to sit down now. And when we extend the leg back, and if, sorry, I didn't show it seated. So you can do the same thing seated. We can all even try this if you want. Seated like this, and notice that I still get a nice opening here. Maybe not quite as much as when I'm standing, but it's still an opening. And then I'm stepping forward. So I'm stepping back and stepping forward. And I have to lean a little for this one. So feel free to lean a little to the side of the chair. And you'll need a chair. You might not be able to do it with a chair with arms on it. We'll do the other side if you've been doing this. So go back and forth. And then sitting up nice and tall. So oftentimes there's a number of things that we need to remember to do. And it can be challenging to do them all at the same time. So if you get a chance to practice this more than once, you can add these different things. And after a while, we start to learn to do them together so that it becomes more like a one movement rather than three different movements that just sort of combine. And sitting up nice and tall. And we'll inhale. And exhale. So a couple of cactus breaths like this. And then a couple more, giving ourselves a hug like this. And then the last thing I'd like to do is, I'd like to do eagle pose seated again. And you can do it, we're going to add the legs to it if you want. You can do it with just the arms like this, or you can skip it and just do this if you didn't like the arms. But if you want to do it with the legs, so we'll cross the right leg over the left leg. And then we'll cross it'll be the opposite for the arm. So I'm mirroring you. So this is my right leg crossing over the left. And now I'm going to take my left arm, and cross it over the right. And I'll take a couple of breaths here. I'm still sitting up tall here. And you might notice that since we've been practicing and you're a little warmer and we did eagle before, that it's easier, and then we'll release and come down. And we'll switch sides. So we'll bring the left knee over the right. And if this is a problem for your knees at all, or it bothers your hips, please don't do it. And then, so we have the left crossed over the right, and then we're going to cross the right. This is right, so it's left. I might have done the wrong one the last time. I think I did actually, but I don't remember. And so inhale and exhale. It's not critical that you switch. The most important part really is to do each side so that you get some evenness in the practice. And then we'll exhale and release, and we'll come back and bring the feet down. And we'll circle the shoulders around. So nice and easy for this one. Nice and easy. Resting the hands on the knees. Circling around. So we're starting to warm down a little bit. and then circling back the other way. And we're going to come into our final resting pose, which is our Shavasana. So for Shavasana, feel free to put a blanket behind you. You could even, so the idea with Shavasana is to really feel supported. To really feel supported. So having a blanket behind the lumbar spine can be nice as well. So, or anything, a towel, a blanket, a pillow, doesn't really matter so much. But this supports my lumbar spine, and what it means is that that natural curve in the spine, I don't really have to think about it. I can lean all the way back against the back of the chair, and the prop keeps the curve for me without me thinking about it at all. And I can slide it up a little or down a little to make it more comfortable. So this is where you have to experiment a little. And everybody is different, since all our bodies are different. And then find a place to comfortably rest the hands. So the knees are probably about hip width, maybe a little wider. And you can lean back against the chair. But we want to feel supported here. And we want the chin to be even. So it's not lifting up, it's not going down, it's not leaning left or right. We want it nice, the head's balanced, right on the top of the shoulders. And the feet feel even. So you can even look down at your feet for a moment and make sure that the toes are even with each other. So one foot's not out further than the other. And then wiggle the buttocks slightly so you can feel the buttocks grounded in the chair. And we want those to feel even so we have a balance on the left and right. So the feet feel balanced. The thighs and the knees feel balanced on the left and right side. The hips feel balanced. The ribs feel balanced. So coming up the body. The shoulders feel balanced. Each arm feels balanced. The hands feel balanced. The ears feel balanced. The eyes feel balanced. And the crown of the head feels like it's balanced right on top. So if we put something up, if we were going to carry something on the top of our head, it would stay up there, no problem. And we're going to begin to focus on the breath. Feeling the belly going in and out with the breath. And if you can, breathing in and out through the nose is a little more calming. Relaxing the face and the eyes, softening the jaw, the tongue and throat, releasing the shoulders. Relaxing the arms, the hands and fingers, letting go of the shoulder blades, the middle back, the lower back, softening the front of the body, relaxing the hips and buttocks, softening the legs, the knees, the shins and calves, releasing the ankles, softening the feet, letting the soles of the feet feel grounded on the earth, supported by the earth. And finally, releasing the toes, from the big toe out to the little toe. Release the toes. We'll continue with a silent meditation for about 2 minutes. Just focused on the breath. And if you want to add a little, almost like a mantra, you can even repeat, I'm breathing in, helps to keep the focus on the breath. But it's entirely your choice. So that 2 minutes will begin now. Namaste. Thank you all for practicing today. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. This is Bati Blumenthal, Branch Supervisor of the Public Library of Brookline. I wanted to thank Keith for facilitating this program for us and guiding us through this practice today. I also wanted to thank the Friends of the Brookline Public Library for sponsoring this program and programs like it. I also wanted
Does anybody have anything? First, I'd like to thank our friends of the library and the Brookline Public Library. Thank you all very much.
And we also wanted to thank.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to mention? I think you can unmute yourself.
Stanley here. You know the streaming on the Channel 3